In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. The next relation after synonymy and antonymy is hyponymy, which appears on page 135. Okay, what is hyponymy? What is the relationship between an animal and a horse? Line 2. What is the relationship between insect and an ant? What is the relationship between flower and a rose? Okay? We see animal includes a big group of animals, including a horse. And an insect has got different kinds. One kind is an ant. And flowers are of different kind. One example is a rose. Okay? So we see something, the concept of line 3, inclusion here. What does it mean? One category includes another. Okay? So this type of relationship of inclusion is said to be hyponymy. If you actually go to the next page, 136, and we have figure 9.1, okay? So on top we have living thing, okay, which divides into two classes of creature and plant. And creature has got 3 or more different subcategories of animals, birds, and insects. Okay? Etc., etc. So animal includes a dog and horse. And the dog, I've got different types of dogs, like a kind is terrier. Okay? And now a terrier has got 2 different kinds, Schnauzer or Yorkie. Okay? Again, we have the same thing for, let's say, bird, which we have duck and carrot. Okay? And duck and parrot. And parrot has got parakeet in it. Okay? Insect and can have ant and cockroach in it. And the same is true for plant. So we see something like this type of relationship. A plant, one type is tree, one type is pine, and one type is fir. And fir is a kind of pine, is a kind of tree, and is a kind of plant, and is a kind of living thing. This kind of relationship is said to be the relationship of hyponymy. Okay, hyponymy. So we have things like superordinate and hyponyms. So what is the superordinate? So we say the superordinate of vegetable, as you see on page on figure 9.1, is plant, and the superordinate of plant is living thing. Or the superordinate of animal, bird, and creature, animal, bird, and insect is creature. Okay? Like this. So this is a kind of, we call this kind of thing as a higher level term of superordinate. Okay? Now, so we have something like hyponymy and superordinate and subordinate relationships. Subordinate is the opposite of superordinate. So this is easy, and there are examples like the ones that we saw on page 135 or 6, is it for the 6th, or the 136. And you can find other examples with verbs like actions and etc. down there. So, of course, like the last line says, of course, it is not only words for things that are hyponyms. Words such as punch, shoot, and stab as verbs describing actions can be treated as co-hyponyms of the verb, the term injure. Okay? And the verbs like bake, boil, fry, grill can be co-hyponyms of the verb cook. Okay? This is the type of, as you see, hyponymy. Don't see anything else on your pages because it is like that. The next one is prototypes. What are prototypes? Prototypes are, in fact, a new kind that you maybe don't know. Line 1. Be careful about what we mean by prototypes. While the words canary, cormorant, dove, duck, flamingo, parrot, pelican, and robin are all equally co-hyponyms of the superordinate bird. What does it mean? The word bird can have these types of things under it, subordinates. Okay? So, canary, cormorant, dove, duck, flamingo, parrot, pelican, and robin. Okay? Now, but which one? Just tell me. Just tell me. Which one is the best example? Which one is the best example of a bird? Well, if we look at canary, it is so small. If we look at dove, the bird called dove, well, maybe it is so timid. So timid. It's not a good example. When you say something like a bird, the best example is not a dove, or a duck, or a flamingo, or a parrot. Why not parrot? The beak of this parrot is quite different from the normal, ordinary bird. Or the flamingo has got very thin legs and very long beak, okay, etc., etc. So when we look at the best examples here, it's so difficult for us to say which one is the best example of a bird. But human beings are like this, that for each example, like bird, they have got something like a set of features, a set of properties that all birds, let's say, have in common. Well, when we talk about the prototypes, we are talking about these types of features. Okay? These types of features. The best example actually is something like the one that has got not very thin, let's say, legs, long legs and thin legs, like, let's say, a flamingo. Not a special type of beak like a parrot. Okay, or a pelican. You know, a pelican again is something similar to flamingo. The biggest beak belongs to this pelican. So we say that this is not a good example. Okay, but how can we solve this problem? We solve this problem by the word prototype, or the best example. So when we say that what is the meaning of what is a prototype, we say it means something like the best example of a word or a concept. Okay? The writer of this book says that, for example, the word robin, line 1, 2, 3, 4. is sometimes considered as the best example of a bird. Or let us say that when we say that, we look at something like a bird, or we find something like a bird on a tree. When it is something, according to the English speakers, when it is something like robin, it is considered like a bird. But if it is so small like a canary, it is not considered, canary is not considered to be like an animal, not like a bird. So what does it mean? The best examples are like this. The birds in this category must not be so big, like a pelican, not so small, like a canary, not like so powerful, like an eagle, killing other birds. Okay? Not so timid, like, let's say, like a dove, etc., etc. It should not have a big beak. It should not have different types of things. So when we look at prototypes, we look at these best examples. Okay? So the examples are like this. So it is only about, this paragraph is only about the category of birds. Going to the next paragraph, you can see something like furniture. Furniture means something like chairs, bench, stool, etc. Okay? What is the best example of a furniture? What is the best example of clothing? Okay? Shirts, shoes, which one? Okay? So sometimes we can have some. What is the best example of a shoe? What is the best example of a shoe? No. In Iran and Iraq, they are the same. Maybe the same. Sometimes in Iraq is maybe different, because in Iraq, maybe we are going to use two types of shoes, summer shoes and winter shoes, okay? But in Iran, most often, actually people use, most often, not all the time, of course, they use winter shoes, okay? So the prototype of Iranians are different from the prototypes of Iraqis. Sometimes it is like this, that the prototype of one country is different from another country, or one culture is quite different from another culture. When we go to Saudi Arabia, because it's always hot, it is always hot, okay? So we only have summer shoes. So the best example of a shoe in Saudi Arabia is something like the one that we use in the summer, okay? Sandals, let's say. But in Iraq and Iran, almost the same, but of course there are tendencies. In Iraq, Iran and Iran, almost they're the same. So we sometimes use sandals, sometimes we use shoes, okay? But what about other countries, colder countries, okay? The prototype in those countries are the kind that could be used during the winter, okay? So prototypes are different like this, okay? Now we can talk about other things like mountain, the best example of a mountain, the best example of a young man, the best example of a young woman, the best example of a university student, the best example of, let's say, a street, the best example of a town, etc. Well, the point is that prototypes talks about the best examples like these, okay? Now, the next discussion is the discussion of homophones and homonyms. Homophones and homonyms. Okay? Let us see. Line 1. When two or more different written forms have the same pronunciation, When two or more different forms have the same pronunciation, they are described as homophones. Homophones. What does it mean? Homo means the same, phone means sound. Okay? Homophone means a word, two words with the same sounds. Let's see. Okay? Common English examples are bear, bear. The same. Line 2. Pear, pear. Line 2. Flower, flower. Right, right. Meat, meat. So, so. Pale, pale. Or two, two, two. Okay? These are homophones. What does it mean? Two words, two different written forms have the same pronunciation. Line 1. What are they? They are homophones. Okay, so far so good. What does homonyms? What is a homonym? We use the term homonyms. Line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next new paragraph. Okay, here. We use the term homonyms when one form, or written or spoken, has two or more unrelated meanings. Okay? Like what? Like what? Bat as a flying creature. I suppose it is in Arabic خفاش. Okay? Bat used in sports as a kind of thing that we use for tennis or something, some similar sports, tennis bat, okay, or cricket bat, kind of cricket bat. Mole on a skin. On your skin, you can have a mole. Or mole is a small animal. Pen, a writing instrument, qalam. Or pen, an enclosed space, a piece of land. Race means a contest of sport, or race, ethnical group. Okay? Or soul and soul. Race means something like unsuri, okay? The second example. Okay? And something like soul or soul. Soul, the first one means single, the second one part of the foot or shoe. The part of a foot or a shoe is called a sole. The sole of a shoe, okay, or the sole of the foot on which we walk, okay? So these are homophones and homonyms. What is the difference? When we say homophones, we are talking about the phones, okay? Written forms, the same pronunciation, okay? And homonyms, it could be written or spoken, no difference, okay? So homophones or homonyms are almost the same. Now let us go to the next one. What is that? Polysemy. Polysemy. What is a polysemy? Poly means several. Poly means several. Semi means semantics, means meaning, okay? Several meanings, okay? Polysemy means a word with several meanings, okay? So, examples appear on the next page. Let's see, polysemy, okay? Okay, poly means meaning and semi means meanings, okay? Okay, line 2 and 3. Examples. Let us go to one example of line 4. Head. Head. The word head on line 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Is used to refer to the object on the top of your body. On the top of my body, your body, we have head. Fourth, on top of a glass of beer, a person on top of a company or department, okay, or school, or many other things, okay? Excuse me. Froth on the top of a glass of beer, etc. Well, when we look at the word head, we see it does not only mean the head of a person or the head of an animal. It could mean something like the head of a company, the head of an institution, the head of blah blah blah. What does it mean? The word head has got one primary meaning and several secondary meanings, which are all like the first meaning, the primary meaning. When we have something like words like head, etc., we say that we have a word with several meanings. Okay? If you actually go to your dictionaries, you see that a dictionary can say things about 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 different related meanings for polysemies, like head. Okay, so just go to your dictionary. You can see that there are several related words that like head, which are polysemous. What does it mean? They have got different kinds of meanings. Okay, so other examples are leg, or foot, or eye, or ear, or time. These are all polysemous. Let us see. When we say eye, it is an organ of sight, but it also can mean very similar things, like the eye of a needle. The eye of a needle, at the end of a needle, there's a hole. We call it an eye. Okay? We call it an eye. Why? Because it is similar to the word eye as an organ of sight. As an organ of sight. So we say that the word eye has got several meanings, like the one as an organ of sight, and several similar meanings. Okay? I will give you another example. Anything like an eye could in English or in your Arabic or in my Farsi could be something like an eye, and we actually call it an eye in English. So I will give you another example. You know, there's something like potato. It's a kind of vegetable. Potato is a kind of vegetable, or a batata. Okay. On the skin of the batata, or the skin of potato, you can see something like an eye. In English, they call those little things on the potato as the eye. Okay, the eyes of the potato. Why? Because the word like eye has got several meanings which are related, like polysemy. They are in the form of polysemies. Okay. Well, a table has got 4 legs. A table has got 4 legs. A chair has got 4 legs. But what is a leg in a table or a chair? It is similar to the leg of a man. Okay? So, the leg is again a polysemous. In fact, word. A polysemous word. What does it mean? It could mean 2, 3, 4, 5 different kinds of things like the ones that we have. One is used as a leg of a human being. The legs of all animals are again like legs, and the leg of a table, the leg of a desk, the leg of a chair. Again, we have legs there, etc., etc. Now I will give you one more example. Okay, the word run. Run it means in fact going faster than walking. Okay, but if you say that the car, in fact, the engine of the car runs, it means it is on. Okay, when you start your car, actually it begins running and it is working. It is in fact functioning. And it makes a lot of sound, and it makes a lot of smoke. Okay? Why? Because it is running. We use the word running, which means in fact it could be used for human beings walking fast. It could be used for something like a car. When your car runs, it means that it is actually has got the petrol in it, it has got the gas in it, and it is on and it is working. Okay? It's like this. So running can be something like this. Or the tap water. You want to, let's say, wash your face. What do? You turn on the tap. Okay? So what happens to the water? The water runs down. Okay? Again, you see the word run has got another new meaning here. Because these words are related, they say they are polysemies. Okay? If you actually go to your dictionaries, you see that the words that are polysemies are numbered in your dictionary. Okay? So head 1, head 2, head 3, head 4, head 5, head 6, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes up to 15 different types of polysemous meanings for something like a word, okay, which are all similar. But what is the difference between a polysemy and the previous page, okay, homophone or homonymy? What is the difference? Well, for polysemy, we say that these words are related in the meaning. But when we talk about homophones or homonyms, we say that they are not related. So bear and bear are quite different. Or pair means two. And pear, the second one, means a kind of fruit similar to, let's say, an apple. Okay? The next one is flour. Flour. When we want to make bread, we make flour. But there's another thing, not related to this flour. What is that? Well, roses are flowers. Okay? So it's a kind of plant. They are kinds of plants or parts of a plant. Okay? Etc., etc. There is no relation between meat and meat, the first one and the second one. There is no relation to two, or so and so. So when there is no relation, we say they are homophones or homonyms. But when there is something like relatedness, we say they are polysemy. Okay? Polysemy. Related. That's it. And that is the last one. So what are polysemy? Wordplay. Wordplays are the results of working or playing with the words, like the ones that we have in this chapter. So let us go and see what we mean. Mary had a little lamb. Okay? Mary had a little lamb. It's a kind of game. It's a kind of play. So when you say Mary had a little lamb, the word lamb could mean two things at the same time. Lamb as a kind of meat, or lamb as a kind of animal. Okay? So when you say Mary had a little lamb, maybe it means that Mary had something to eat. What was that? It was a little lamb, a little piece of meat. But actually, if you go down and continue with this riddle, we see that Mary had a little lamb, some rice and vegetables. You see that out of these two meanings, animal and something to eat, the second one is available here. Why? We say some rice and vegetables. Okay, the context actually makes it clear that Mary had a little lamb does not only mean something to, in fact, some animal like a little dog. Okay, of course, it is not similar to a little dog, but there are two types of meanings. Okay, another one is like this: what has 4 legs but only 1 foot? And your answer is a bed. A boat has got 4 legs, only 1 foot, where the foot of the bed is the end, the last part, with the last part section of a bed. Or you can play with something like this: why are trees often mistaken for dogs? As a kind of wordplay. And the answer is something like that. Well, because of the bark. What does it mean? The bark of a tree is the skin. The rough skin of a tree is called the bark of the bark of a tree. And dogs actually bark. What does it mean? Make sound. The sound of a dog is called the bark. So when we say why are trees often mistaken for dogs? Because of their bark. Why? Because we have bark of a tree and bark of the dog. The bark of the tree is the skin of the tree, and the bark of a dog is the sound that it makes, etc., etc. These are wordplay and metonymy. Metonymy, which actually means something in your literature, Maybe I'm gonna, in fact, give it in my next presentation. Thank you very much. I stop just here, and the 2 things I'm going to talk about, the 2 just now.